This is Coach Joanne Mccallie. She's a highly acclaimed trailblazing leader with an award-winning career as an elite Division One head basketball coach, spanning nearly 4 decades. Um, she spent almost 30 years coaching at University of Maine, Michigan State, and Duke University. And throughout her career, she amassed a winning record of 646 to 255 over 70%. She led her teams to 21 NCAA tournament appearances, including the national championship game in 2005. She's a pioneer in the field and the only Division One head coach in history to win a conference title and named coach of the year in four very different conferences. She coached the USA basketball under 20 and under 21 to gold medals. She has since moved on to become a prominent author and passionate advocate for mental wellness and brain health. And she draws on her personal journey and battle with bipolar disorder, where she candidly chronicled in her memoir, The Secret Warrior, a coach and a fighter on and off the court. She works to reduce the stigma associated with mental illness, and as the founder of our current initiative, she empowers individuals and groups to win without losing yourself, focusing on her life philosophy and the core message of her book. She's coached at the highest level and won at the highest level, so if any of you are looking forward to playing at, obviously, anywhere higher than here, you don't get much better than this in terms of people to speak to. So I hope you all can enjoy this and, have a lot of questions for her.
Okay, good. Hello. Hello, everyone. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you. I am talking to you from the great state of Texas. I am in a fellowship program here, furthering my education on many different topics and also trying to write a screenplay that connects with Secret Warrior. So I have transitioned from a coach of 28 years, a head coach, to now an advocate, a speaker, starting my own foundation on brain health, and also trying to learn the arts a little bit, and hopefully get that screenplay written. But most importantly, we're here to talk leadership. And at any time, if you have a question, just raise your hand and let's chat about that. I've got some thoughts for you that I think some of my favorite concepts of leadership I wanted to share, and hopefully they resonate with you in some way. If we look up leadership, it says the action of leading a group or people or an organization. So that's pretty much a fundamental type of definition. And we can build from that. And the key there is the action. Okay, the action of leading a group of people. And one of my favorite sayings that I always use with the players and with people I work with is actions speak louder than words. Okay, you are what you do in front of other people. Okay, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And you're being watched by everyone in your organization. And they're trying to evaluate, obviously, your integrity, your sincerity, and your thoughtfulness to whatever you're working on in the group. So actions speak louder than words. And that's something I try to live by as much as possible. And in the context of some of the points I want to share with you today, I thought I would share with you that in our country, to win a national championship, it takes 6 wins in the NCAA tournament. I have been fortunate to be in a national championship game in my career, which, as you can imagine, was a great thrill. And I decided this morning, when I was thinking about all of us together, that if there are 6 games to win a national championship, we're going to focus on 6 principles of leadership that you can take with you and hopefully build a championship, whatever you're doing. And how you lead yourself is the most important thing. Remember, you cannot lead until you lead yourself, and do that very consistently and positively, again, by your actions mostly. Now, the key word I just want to throw out there that needs to permeate these thoughts is inspire. Okay, without inspiration, we have nothing. So if you're a player, and I think you all are probably pretty good players, the question I want you to ask yourself is, as a leader, as a role model, do you inspire other people? And you can answer that honestly. Nobody needs to tell you that. You know if your actions do so. So inspiration is something I want to permeate this whole concept of these principles that I'm going to share. Okay, so as we start out, the first principle is pretty basic. It's, how do you evaluate yourself? Okay, what are your strengths? Can you be honest about your strengths? And can you be honest about your weaknesses? Can you reflect to know how to select a team with balance of talents? And what's really good to do is to pull in people that are smarter than you, people that might have better ideas, more creative ideas. As a leader, you have to be confident in being able to work with those people. So you don't have to be superior. You don't have to be the smartest in the room. You have to be the one that can connect the people in the room. And that takes some skill, but you cannot do that unless you really think about what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and then select people accordingly. It's kind of like a puzzle, putting a puzzle together, what best works with chemistry. The second component that I definitely tried to do throughout my career was to seek out one-on-one relationships. So you may have a team, you may be a part of a team, but can you talk with people one-on-one? Can you sit down and have a conversation? Can it be an honest conversation, face to face? Can you do that and collaborate? Collaboration is a big word, and it is grounded in the concept that you can establish one-on-one relationships. And I always try to remind people that you can delegate tasks in your organization, but you cannot delegate relationships. You cannot delegate people. People require that human connection. And human connection works on teams. Human connection works on making yourself feel better. Human connection works on mental health, brain health, putting yourself in the best light. Okay, so all of that is part of the communication piece where you seek that one-on-one connection with people. And then the second piece again is seeking out relationships one-on-one, not being afraid to deal with conflict. Conflict is interesting. People sometimes run away from that. Within those one-on-one relationships, you will have conflict. Somebody will have an idea that perhaps you're not too excited about. And sometimes people just have fundamental problems. And people might be even accusatory that you are not fulfilling them as a leader. And it's most important to stay patient and to listen. Listening is part of the one-on-one relationships. Listening and taking notes, even if you're really kind of upset or you feel like they're not coming from a fair place, that listening is really, really key. One-on-one relationships doesn't mean kumbaya, it doesn't mean always lovey-lovey. It means one-on-one and handling conflict as much as possible. But the third one would be communicate roles and expectations. You have to set forth a vision. Okay, now that vision may not come to pass, but without a vision, the people perish. And that's a wonderful proverb. You have to elevate people and dream bigger than the people around you. Okay, and you have to throw that forward. So in my life right now, the probability of me getting a screenplay written and selling it to Hollywood is probably very, very small. But I have to have that vision. I have to be able to understand that, yes, we can go for this and bring that enthusiasm to people around me. So there we go. We've got one-on-one relationships. Now we're communicating our roles, our expectations. We're setting forth a vision. And with that, we understand that there is no substitute for enthusiasm and energy. Okay, you can, on your own time, away from working with people or your team, you can kind of be low key. You can step back, chill, and keep yourself to that whatever comfortable space you're in. But when it comes to an organization, you've got to step outside your comfort zone. Okay, it's not about your individual personality all the time. It might be about your individual ideas and thinking and your alignment with the vision, but you're certainly not holding back. You've got to give to the people around you. And then, in fact, you become contagious. And contagious is a great word. You affect other people in a positive way, and you elevate their enthusiasm. And I have to think about this, even in the most difficult times. I remember coaching a team. I don't know if you remember, I think you do, the great late Pat Summitt, the great, great coach who coached at the University of Tennessee. Well, my team at Michigan State met them in the semifinal of the national championship. And we found ourselves down 16 with 9 minutes left to go in the game. Now, it took a whole lot of energy and enthusiasm to believe and have a vision that we could actually come back in that game. We were playing in front of 40,000 people on national TV as well. And there was conflict in the huddle, when, you call a timeout and we weren't doing obviously what we wanted to do. And there was aggression and conversation and motivation and inspiration. And you probably can imagine what happened. We came back from 16 down and won that game on national television, handling the most adversity I think you could probably face in a great opponent in the Final Four in Indianapolis, Indiana. There we were. And the tears of joy and the celebration was something I certainly can never forget, because it was so laced in energy, enthusiasm, not quitting, the idea of pushing forward and pushing through difficulty. All of that was a part of that. Coaching my teams at Duke, Onome's teams, all my teams, we hit some tough spots. And how we put forth that energy was so important. I think about one more example. When I was coaching Onome and her teammates, we hit some injuries and some really good opponents, and we lost some games early. And at Duke, you pretty much win games. And we were not on that path right away. And then when we came to February at the end of the season, we won 9 straight games. 3 or 4 of them were against ranked opponents. We went from ninth in the ACC up to second in the ACC. The sad reality was COVID hit, and we all know what that was about: devastation and so much adversity. So we didn't finish our season like many, many other teams did. So anyway, I can't say enough about energy, enthusiasm, belief, vision, never quitting, always thinking things are possible. My fifth thought would be how you have to take responsibility for your decisions, for your actions, and as a leader. One of my fun quotes that I would share with my assistants is that assistants make suggestions, leaders make decisions, make clear decisions. And that's the difference between being a head coach and an assistant coach. And that's why sometimes when assistant coaches become head coaches, they don't always succeed, because they're so used to the suggestion piece that they forget that they are in charge to make decisions. And sometimes the decisions you make are highly unpopular. And sometimes people don't understand them. You do your best to communicate them, but you make sound decisions based on all the information. As a leader, you're looking at all the information, and that's critical. And sometimes other people are not seeing all the information, but they're still making judgment on what they see. And so that can kind of be an interesting concept with the decision making, and also getting people to buy into the decisions that you make, even if they're not sure that they totally agree. So that's key. Leaders make decisions. And I can think of many great decisions I made. I can still think of decisions that I look back on and I say, no, that probably wasn't the best decision. The sixth component that I kind of put together with us today is how you have to accept, as a leader, you have to accept vulnerability. You cannot be afraid to be wrong. I don't know how many of you don't raise your hand in class, or don't speak up with friends because you're sort of not sure if what you are saying is accurate or the truth. And so you hold yourself back. And then of course, in that regard, you're holding the conversation back because you're not adding to what the discussion could be. So it's not a matter of right and wrong. It's a matter of thinking, looking at reality, pontificating, putting stuff out there and saying, well, you know, I don't mind. I don't mind sharing, even though if I'm not quite sure of what I'm saying. When I was a junior in high school, I took an English class, and I had a great teacher, and she once wrote on my college applications, one of the positive things is that Joanne is not afraid to be wrong. And I thought that was so funny, because at the time I did not think that was a compliment. And I did not think that was a way to get me in college. But anyway, I understand now, years later, where she was coming from. And I hope you can be bold and brave and beautiful. And I hope you're able to really step into yourself with your ideas and accept vulnerability, because that's just life. We've all got insecurities. We've all got things we have to work on. And there's a reminder about this leadership thing, that leadership is generally lonely when you make those decisions sometimes. And you have to accept that as part of the vulnerability as well. That, it's just it's hard sometimes. Not everyone agrees with what you're saying, and you have to follow through. There can be people that mock, you call them mockers, people that talk about things, maybe don't have ideas, but definitely critique, have their own ideas, and they can slow the process down a little bit if they're not part of the team and bought into what's going on with the team. So all in all, you have to be a strong woman. You have to fight insecurities. You have to fight. We all have to fight our past. We have to fight things that have happened to us. I know when my brain health wasn't at its best when I was young and I had to cope with that, I could not allow that to take away from who I was as a person and to build my strength. And adversity can be very brutal for all of us, particularly women, and how we're treated sometimes. And so within that adversity, you've got to dig deep and respond and work on yourself. Exercise, getting good sleep, eating well, taking care of your.
My name is Babalola Yomide, and my question is about her building a relationship with her players. How easily did she build a relationship with her players? And I know it would be hard because there are some decisions she might make that might not sit well with her players. How did she cope with that and deal with it?
Cope with your players, especially when decisions you make doesn't sit well with them.
Yes, yes. That is a great question. When my decisions do not set well, and I have to communicate directly with whoever is involved one-on-one and do my best to explain to the team why I make the decisions or made the decisions. Usually there's a collaboration, win or lose, we'd go into the film room and we talk about the victory and break it down and learn to get better. And if we were lost a game, we would talk about that and how to improve that as well. So, and that always can be met with conflict and just it's a tough situation because people want to feel responsible, but at the same sense, they may feel their teammate let them down. They may feel their coach let them down, whatever it could be. But the bottom line is you have to communicate it. It can't be silence. Silence is agreement. If you're silent, you just sort of agree and you don't have any differences. And if you're silent, you're responsible for that silence, which means you can't come back later and say, well, I was really thinking this. So part of a leader, part of my job as a coach was to make decisions. And then if they didn't sit well, to figure them out and make sure I could talk to the player and let them know why I did what I did. Whether it was playing time, whether it was a discipline type of thing, whatever it would be. But there's a fancy two words for that. It's called cognitive dissonance. And all that means is that's that little feeling inside that doesn't settle well with somebody and they say something that you do not believe. You get dissonant feelings inside and you have to act on those. You have to be able to say, okay, I don't feel so great about this. The energy between us is not great. I've got to try to work on that and be a leader with that. And hopefully that the player, student athlete could meet you halfway and you could come to some sort of understanding.
My name is Eko Ngozi, and my question is, as an aspiring leader, how do you balance pressure and being confident?
Okay, great. Well, I need to work on myself. To balance pressure, I used exercise as a mean by which to get my mind focused on what I needed. Now, if you prepare, if you have great practices and you prepare, you do get great confidence from that. And so you're more relaxed under pressure because you've prepared. But part of that is getting your brain right to make the right decisions during a game, to call time out, to make the right substitutions, to choose the right plays, to lead your team as much as possible. And part of how I got myself ready for that, what exercise was a regular part of my day. Again, swimming, lifting weights, playing tennis, keeping myself at a really healthy spot so I could put myself in the best position for my team. Because once we got to games, it was up to the team to perform on the court. And we all get nervous. We all wonder. We all have doubts. But through breathing, through exercise, good sleep, you can center your energy so that you can be the most forceful and the most productive and the most successful. And centering that energy is learning how to do that is really, really important. So that's part of handling pressure. And that's part of being confident in your decisions. And that's the beauty of putting yourself out there in tough situations.
How do you build the confidence to be a great leader? How do you essentially start to take action in that direction?
Yes, well, I hope that you have passion in your life, a conviction, some things to think about that you want to accomplish. And then it's a process of preparation. If you want to go to medical school, you have to study. You have to prepare for the exam. If you want to perform on the court, you've got to put in extra time. I mean, how many of you think you're good shooters? Raise your hand. Come on. Sure you can. Sure you can. Yeah. Yeah, good. 2 hands up. Very nice. But you build confidence by you build confidence by practice. It doesn't make you perfect, but it makes your habits permanent. So if you're practicing whatever it is, medicine, basketball, if you're a public speaker, if you're a politician, you have to know your subjects. You have to know how to public speak. Lots of people don't like to public speak. So you have to study, you have to prepare. You can't just you can't just show up and say you're a basketball player. You've got to work on your craft. Identify your craft. Maybe you're a chess player, maybe you're a violinist, maybe you're medical, maybe you want to study law. But whatever it is, you're going to have challenges. And so you have to prepare for them. If you're studying for the law exam, you've got to study a whole lot to be in a position to pass that exam. So life is full of these challenges. They're not going away. So embracing the journey, embracing the process, it's always about the process. And the process is your steps to getting to where you want to get to. And that breeds the confidence. And if you're not confident, you have to fight back with that, with practice, preparation, and all those things to say, okay, wait a minute, I am a great shooter now because I shot 1,000 shots in a day, every day, to make me understand how to shoot this ball and put it in that basket. So there's no substitute. There's no substitute for hard work, and there are no shortcuts. And that's something I hope you really believe and understand. And then you're on your way to building your confidence.
Specifically called out you saying it feels when it gets lonely at the top, and how to still handle people that don't agree with your choices, especially when it gets lonely at the top.
If you built a great team, people that you're around, that's helpful because they need to be loyal and on your side for things. But even with that, you will get lonely, and that's where you seek counsel. For me, when I had moments where I needed to be better or make a hard decision, I often didn't do it alone, but I sometimes didn't do it with my staff because the younger folks on my staff, I sometimes looked to somebody older on the staff, or I looked at one of my mentors that I had in life that taught me about coaching. So you don't go it alone. Although leadership is lonely at the top, you don't do it alone. You seek out people that have been there. I look at Onome, how proud I am of her as a student athlete. And here she is with this wonderful, wonderful opportunity that she's created with you all. And, that takes a lot of planning and decision making, and sometimes lonely at the top for that. Yes, it's a beautiful thing, but we seek out collaboration and we have relationships. And so Onome calls me and says, hey, Coach P, can you be a part of this? And this is what we're talking about. I'm older than Onome. I'm 60. Onome's always been wise and mature because she had to cross continents to come get her education. And so her experience was so mature. And so getting back to the original question, if Onome in putting this together was not alone, right? She can go back to her college coach and say, hey, can you be a part of this? And so when you're a leader of some organization, who can you go back to? It might even be a parent. It doesn't have to be a professional. It could be just somebody who's wise. Wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. Where is it? Ask for it. And sometimes today in our world with social media and AI and all the things going on, we think we can get all the answers from social media or AI. Well, guess what? No, we can't, because you have to have human interaction. You have to sort of feel sometimes what people are saying to you when they provide that wisdom. So although we love the world getting smarter and having more things like AI and all these things, there's no interaction. And let me give you a funny example of this. I got in a car. I don't know if you've seen those Waymos. Have you seen those cars that drive themselves? Okay, so here I'm in Austin, Texas. Okay, you don't have to take an Uber. You can take an Uber and get a Waymo, which means there's no driver. Okay, last night I had this experience. So here was all this modern technology getting in this car, and the steering wheel is moving and nobody's sitting in the driver's seat. And it took me back home. Well, why am I bringing that up? Because it was all mechanical. There was no interaction. Of course, there was not a driver. And many times when I drive on Uber, I talk to the person who's driving and we find out, oh, the person's from Nigeria or the person's from wherever, and they're driving their Uber and they have a life experience that they share. Well, obviously, when I'm in the Waymo, I'm not getting any kind of human connection or interaction. So you're going to stay lonely at the top if you just Waymo it. Okay, I just made that up, by the way. I just made up a new term. If you do that Waymo thing where you don't have human connection and you don't seek out wisdom. So anyway, I'm thrilled that Onome would seek out me and we would come together and share this time together. She's provided an opportunity for me. And most importantly, for us together as a group.
Thank you.
So that's a long answer, but oh well, that's how it goes.
How can one's team be good if they don't inspire each other or help each other? I'm guessing basketball.
Okay, well, I would say that would be really hard. Without inspiration, without helping each other, I think what you can do there is start doing the little things that lead to the big things. So for example, if a teammate falls down, you can all run to pick her up and offer a hand. And there was an old saying there that you never wanted your teammate down for very long. So teammate, wipes out, run and pick that teammate up right away and show that connection. And find simple ways like that to bring the most out in each other. But you have to have inspiration. So you can vocalize your inspiration. You can lead by action. You can get a really hard rebound. You can do the really tough stuff and set a screen for your teammate. All of that can bring together this idea of working together. But you must have inspiration and you must have the ability to be connected. And if you're really good, the ability to be positive with each other, but also, not be negative, but also be able to state the truth. If I go in for a rebound and I grab the ball and it goes off my knee, I can own that for me, like, yeah, I didn't mean to do that. So, and then my teammate can pick me up and say, you got it, let's go get back on defense kind of thing. So there's a constant back and forth between teammates. And that's what makes team sports really valuable in teaching. Team sports are really critical to building an understanding of how to communicate and inspire each other.